name is Denell Howard, Denellhoward. Uh, my preferred title, I guess, is my name. I prefer to be called Denell. I do have the pleasure of being connected to the Mondale Brightwood community by serving as the pastor of the Hovey Street Church of Christ, Hovey, Hovey Street Church of Christ. I serve there, and my organization is planted here, Evolve International Inc., which is a mentoring program for young Black boys. Um, so that's planted in the 461A in the Mondale Brightwood community. So yeah, I have the pleasure of being connected to some awesome, uh, in the words of Langston Hughes, people of the darker hue. You know, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So could you start by, this is a conversation kind of about wealth, specifically in Martindale Brightwood.
Yeah.
Could you define wealth for me?
Well, you know, I think it was Fred Hampton Sr. who said, "You don't replace white capitalism with black capitalism," and so wealth sometimes can be defined for me not necessarily in monetary gain, but I think if you watch us historically, we define wealth more by social capital, um, where Mr. Johnson may work every day at the plant, and on Sundays he went to church. He was Deacon Johnson, but in his community he was Mr. Johnson, and everybody respected him and they honored him as Old Man Johnson. You know, you didn't even cut across his grass. You run across Old Man Johnson's grass. And he had that one Cadillac that he pulled out on Sundays, clean and riding, and it was his Cadillac. It was his Sunday go to meeting car. And other than that, he drove that old truck to work and back and wore them overalls. But he was wealthy. His community loved him. His church adored him. Those who didn't love him respected him. He didn't mix words. Bank account may have not been large as some of these other people, but he was absolutely wealthy. And so I think that's one of the things I try to define wealth by social capital. Oftentimes, though, in our community, we define wealth um, by the 50 Cent model: get rich or die trying. And he said, "Get rich." He just, and now he's wealthy. He's not rich. He's wealthy. So yeah, I would define it by social capital. But then there is a level of wealth financially that I think that we lack or we struggling or we're behind it. Yeah, yeah. We only have one Robert Smith, and most people are not even familiar with Robert Smith until you Google him and realize that not only is he an amazing, intelligent, controversial, wealthy black man, but he also has enough sense to how to build an army. He went to Morehouse and paid for everybody's degree, paid for everybody's schooling at that commencement. And we got guys like that. I'm a fan of startups. I think that Bob Johnson is one of the greatest CEOs ever mentioned in life. I think it would give him enough credit for what he did with BET and what he did with the Bobcats and all those things. You can look at you know different people who have amassed wealth financially and were able to turn around and do something to help the people. So I think you can define it by how much money you gain, or you can define it by your social capital, how much people love you. There are people who are filthy, financially wealthy, commit suicide. So
Yeah. No, that's a good definition. It's something I'm just trying to ask people as these conversations develop. Um, Tell us more about like what brings you to Martindale Brightwood. Are you from here? Or, like,
no, no, I'm from Mississippi, man. Oh, my bad. I'm from Mississippi. I'm sorry, you know. Some people be forgetting. From Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi, man. I'm from Greenwood, Mississippi, man. I'm from the Delta, home of cotton and catfish, man. I moved up here in 1999. That sounds like a documentary now. Like, yeah, in 1999, yeah, I moved up here because I do believe that, especially then, I believe that the difference between what we deem as successful and unsuccessful is about access. And if you have access, you can have success. It's hard to have success with no access. And of course, that's pre AI, pre worldwide internet. Now, they had the internet in 99. So, for all the young people who are watching and think that in 1999 we did not have the internet, we did, but not at the massive scale that we have access now, where you can go to your phones and Google how to conduct business in Russia, or how do you trade with um, Nigeria, how do you, um, and this is good too. You know that four of the richest black men in the world are in Nigeria? Four of the wealthiest, rather, in the world are in Nigeria, and the top two both deal with concrete and sugar. Yeah, yeah, in Nigeria, four of them in this one country. So I think access. If you got access, you can be successful. And again, success is relative. So what may be successful to somebody else may not be successful to some. So I'm not saying that you got a 10-car garage and a 15-bedroom home. Some people don't want that in their life. I mean, I just need two Cadillacs. I think I'll be okay. But yeah, they said two good Cadillacs. I had an old guy tell me one time. He said you need two good Cadillacs to have one, so, so you can work it together. But no, I moved here in '99 for access to something greater, something better, wanting to do something different, believing in myself, believing in an opportunity to do something amazing. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Came seeking your fortunes.
yeah. That was gold up in them hills. No, but and then Indianapolis was funny to me because I was familiar with Gary. Indianapolis was just like, okay, that's like where the Pacers play. That's you know, you didn't know like Indianapolis, but one time, remember, Gary was the murder capital of the world. Unfortunately for Gary, but that's how we knew Gary, Indiana, and it's next door to Chicago. So, but not necessarily Indianapolis. But what I did not um, know, and what sort of walked me into Martindale Brightwood was Martin University. Yeah, Martin University, man. I moved up here and wanted to go to college, wanted to go to school, and I went to Ivy Tech. I was at Ivy Tech, and I just couldn't do it. It wasn't my wasn't. I'm not a like I can't do HVAC. It's not. I'm not gonna be having fun doing that. And I'm a product of HBCUs and black colleges because I'm from Mississippi. So that's what we know. We know black colleges: Alcorn, Valley, Jackson State, Prairie View, UAPB. The list goes on and on. Jackson State. We know HBCUs. And so when I got to Indianapolis, I was actually shocked that there were no official HBCUs in Indianapolis. And so in my conversations, I would be talking to people, and somebody mentioned Martin University, and I was living. I guess it's technically the West Side because it's capital. And I've learned, that Meridian, yeah, yeah, yeah. But you never know with the locals because even Mondale Brightwood is the near east side, it ain't the far east.
Right.
So, so I was on Capitol, and everything that I was doing when I first moved here was either downtown or toward the west side. I was volunteering at Watkins at the gym over there at Watkins. My daughter was going to school on Capitol, grocery stores on Capitol. This is before they robbed the double eight on Capitol. Used to be a double eight right there on 27th or so in Capitol, 28th in Capitol. Yeah, coming down on 28th in Capitol, right where they knocked it down, and Architect had on it. My wife had a shop right there on 29th in Capitol. So everything I knew was in that area. And so somebody told me about Martin University. And I came over to Martin University. I was like, why? Y'all got a black school in the hood? Like, for real, for real? And that walked me over here. And then I pastored a church in Muncie, Indiana. And somebody called me about this church here. And so I used to travel back and forth to Muncie. I lived here in Indianapolis, but I would travel back and forth to Muncie. And somebody talked to me about this church, and I was like, it's over by the school. Uh, so, I have literally, on great days like today, walked from the school to the church, from the church to the school. Yeah. Then some people say I do it because I'm country.
Gotta get those steps in.
Right,
That's what you're about.
right. So it was one university that brought me over
Amazing. Um, let's see. Um, right. So tell me about like your first um memories of Indianapolis or Martindale Brightwood. Like, what are the sights? What are the sounds? What defines the experience?
here. To me, let me say what defines the Indianapolis experience is that, and maybe the numbers may be showing something different right now, but last time I recall, Indianapolis is like the 13th largest city in the United States of America. And I always remind my boys, like, that's nothing to sneeze at. Like, that's the 13th largest city in the United States of America. And so when I think of Indianapolis, the sights and sounds, whenever I'm having a challenging day or whenever I'm having a, man, what am I going to do day? Like, there are some nights where I would drive down Capitol because I thought it was the most exciting view. I would drive straight south on Capitol just to go into downtown, just to see downtown. And again, for regular people who live in Indianapolis, like, whatever, nobody wants to see that kind of stuff. But that's their experience. My experience is I just like driving into the city like that and just looking at when I think of Mondale Brightwood, for me, Mondale Brightwood, um, I walk it like from 25th and Ralston to 22nd and Yanders. I walked this area like from door to door, people to people, family to family, alleyways, empty lots. Watch empty lots become houses. Watch houses become empty lots. Watch older men pass and their homes fail. Watch houses get passed down from a family to, investors now. But for me, it's the walkability of Mr. and Mrs. Harris, who was on Ralston. Um, and they both are passed now. But Mr. and Mr. Harris, great couple. We had our um, May Day, our spring celebration day out here. We have it once a year. And they would come over and bring their lawn chairs. With my young boys, would during our summer camp would we would go over to the Harris house and help them with their garden. Um, our young boys have cleaned the curbs around here. You know, we've not only just picked up trash but cleaned the weeds out of the curb to see the brick in the street here on at 23rd. Um, so for me, Martindale Brightwood is walking. It's a beautiful area, man. When I would walk to school, you'd be amazed at people you could see, the dogs you get nervous about, the conversation that people are having on the journey. Douglas Park, before it got the $20 million Douglas Park, but Douglas Park with the crew that was over there, when it was just the box, um, being in and out of Douglas Park with them, watching the kids, um, just the laughter in there, and then also, you know, when I think of Mondale Brightwood, I think about the pain. You know, the pain is real, um, which always leads me to the resiliency of Black people. Um, Dr. Cornel West would say those on the chocolate side of the city. You know, it always leads me to remember how resilient and how tenacious chocolate people really are. Uh, because, you know, I would always tell people at the juvenile center that this is the place that houses all the pain of the people. And inside Mondale Brightwood, just as well as they had the amazing university, the juvenile detention center housed all the pain of our people, because that's where we housed our children. But we were resilient, man. And I've learned that, you know, I'll tell you something. I was at Martin University when I read the book by Brother McFadden, The Hills and the Bottoms. Yeah, I got that from Martin University. Learned about Martindale Brightwood, Martindale versus Brightwood, Brightwood, Martindale, the differences, the historical. Yeah, I got that from Martin University. So I learned, I'm a student of this. People forget that Frank Beckwith was from Martindale Brightwood, whichever, how you want to say it, but his family owned a restaurant right up on 25th Street. He's the first Black man to run for president in the Republican Party. Yeah, Frank Beckwith. They had his mural on Douglas, on at Frederick, and again, Frederick Douglass Park. Let me make sure I got to keep saying it the right way. Frederick Douglass Park, so people understand. I'm just saying Douglas because country folk we like to shorten stuff. But at Frederick Douglass Park, Frederick Douglass, you hear the history of Frederick Douglass catching a train, getting off in Martindale Brightwood, all of these things. And so the history is amazing. It's a tenacious group of people, man. But yeah, it has its pain, but it has its wonderful joys, man.
Definitely, I can see that.
Yeah, yeah. You from now,
Yeah, it's got its ups and its downs. Right, there's
Yes,
amazing things here, and then
yes,
there's definitely pain points, and just
yes.
being from here is you see it differently, but it's always interesting to hear this perspective of somebody who comes from outside of it.
Hmm.
Right, so it's good to hear that.
Because you can become numb to it.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who, right now, even as they're continuing construction downtown, people who are like, whatever. But that's amazing. I don't subscribe to the notion that these children have nothing to do. In the 13th largest city in the United States of America, what do you mean you have nothing to do? Just say you don't want to do what there is to do. There's art institute. There's the museums. There's the fever. The if you don't like the fever, go over to the theater. If you don't like the theater, go watch the Indians. You don't like the Indians, go watch the Pacers. You don't like the Pacers, go watch the Colts. You don't like the Colts, go watch the ice hockey team. You don't like the ice hockey team, go watch the the gym, James Lomax and Anthony Hampton them having tournaments every weekend. If you want just local basketball, if you want local festivities, the Melanin and Maze and all these things that are taking place. You want good food. They got barbecue and all kind. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of there are youth centers everywhere and things, and yet it's still a struggle. But I'm saying, don't tell me there's nothing to do. Now, if you live in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, you can say, "Oh, there's nothing for us to do." If you live way south Alabama, you can say, "There's nothing for us to do." If you stuck in desert somewhere, Texas, you can say, "Ain't nothing for us to do." But you can't say in the 13th largest city in the United States of America, there's nothing for these kids to do. What we can say is our kids have become more curious in painful places and sometimes derogatory things, that we've lost the desire to do those things that are creatively amazing and uplifting. And so we want to pretend that we're going to the club. You know, we should have a kids club for what? So they can pretend to be drinking, so they can pretend to get into a fight, so they can pretend to shoot each other up. What's the point of the club? So they can party and have a good time. The 14 probably want to be watching wrestling somewhere, eating some popcorn with their partners, hiding under cover from the boogeyman. I don't know, but not pretending to be. Yeah, no. So, so, so yeah.
Okay, so right, like a lot of the work you do is kind of family focused. Where do you see the future of Martindale Brightwood, like in the next, I don't know, forecast out as long as you want?
Okay. Well, when I first came over here, at this church, I went to black realtors, people that I was telling them, like, it's a lot of vacant lots. You guys need to be purchasing this property and building houses to build a community over here. Only one group took me up on it. Matter of fact, David Hampton was the deputy mayor at the time, and this group was called Project 5000. They were out of Chicago. They took me up on the offer. I got them and Dr. Hampton. They walked the neighborhoods and looked at places. Now I don't know how many properties they got and everything, but they got some, and then started trying to build homes because I could see that we needed homes in these lots because homes are families. And so I wasn't the only one that could see it. Mayor Ballard had a plan, eat, live, work, play downtown. He could see it. He wanted, but we were by the Monon, and that Monon is important. And so you could see them slowly developing and building up the Monon and taking everything close to the Monon. So try to make sure that we were in there. And I think that for years, Mondale Brightwood, from my understanding, was the donut hole of the city. All the resources, all the funding were outside of Mondale Brightwood. But then it became attractive. And we get 20 million investment in the parks. People want to build data centers, taking the schools, and all of a sudden you see housing development going up. $300,000 homes in Mondale Brightwood. Not that we don't deserve $300,000 homes, but we need income based housing, not affordable housing, but income based housing. So I said that to say I could see it coming, and some people got in front of it, some didn't. What I believe will happen within the next 3 years is a continued fight for the services that are provided with these kind of spaces, the fight for those services. How do we get those services without being displaced? Got to cut. Tell them I'm in here recording. I actually do that for them. Um, the fight for the services, because these services are, are not necessarily being provided for the current people. These services are being provided for a people to come. And, and so we're going to have to fight for those services to be provided for us. That's in the immediate future. To come, we're going to be fighting for everything. IPS School 51 was in Mondale Brightwood. Um, the school on uh, 34th and Keystone, they tore that down. They started remodeling, build a new school because the more affluent school wanted to come in this area. They wanted School 56. Now, those from Mondale Brightwood in this area are going to know what I'm talking about. Those who not, they're going to be like, I don't know what's going on. But they wanted School 56. Eunice Trotter and them were absolutely engaged in making sure they did not tear that building down because of the historical value of the facility. But the Montessori school was in School 56. But the affluent school wanted School 56 until they could finish what they were doing on Keystone. So School 56, Montessori school, now says, well, where we gonna go? We're gonna go to School 51. Well, what's in School 51? Poor black kids, poor Latino kids, poor white kids sitting inside this only IPS school in this area. So the affluent school gonna kick the Montessori school out of their building. So the Montessori school gonna kick the IPS school kids out of their building. The principal of the Montessori school is not going to take over this school. I mean, the principal of the IPS school now has to buy some time and float or be somewhere else. The teachers at School 51 now, because they have Montessori style teaching, are now pushed out or adopt or adjust to the Montessori way of thinking. So that's what's happening to us now. The more people look into this donut hole and see the specialities in it, the specialties in it, if you will, they'll push. When they push one, they push the other, and it all rolls downhill. And if we're not positioned, we'll be pushed right out of here. Um, and not in a oh my God kind of run for the hills, everything's on fire way, but in a very slow, methodical return back to the Martindale that was majority white initially when the train track was over here until they went out to the suburbs and said we don't want it anymore. Now their kids are coming saying, no, we want to be close to downtown. We don't want to be in the suburbs. So what we have to do is prepare ourselves not to be anti any people, but to be pro us and prepare ourselves to be owners of things so that when those amenities are provided, they're provided to the owners of things. And so if they're sincere in providing their amenities, we'll benefit from all that they want to do because chocolate people want to see an amazing downtown. We want an amazing Douglas Park. We want phenomenal trailways and walkways. And we want bike paths. We want sidewalks. We want sewage drainage systems that when the rain comes, it drains into the drain. We do. We want faster internet and high speed, all of that stuff while we are here. We don't want you to put it in here, then sort of sucker punch us, you know. Bro, but I was no, but seriously, I mean, if we're not prepared, we'll be pushed out. And Dr. King called the Midwest polite racism. Polite racism always reminds me of what Brother Malcolm was trying to remind us of the white liberal, where you got to be very mindful who cozies up with you and how well they particularly love you and what it is they're trying to get done. So I think we need to be cautious and we need to be careful. We need to be making sure that we're producers and not just consumers. so that as these amenities come into our communities, we are owners and we get to partake in the amenities and not watch Big Mama house get stolen from under you because of some tax loop or tax liability, or some kind of thing, and not be outpriced and stuff like that. So in 10 years, I'll see us still fighting for what we know to be Mondale Brightwood. Pickleball is good. Let the brothers still shoot some hoops though, you know.
Yeah. We want to keep doing our stuff.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's see. What else? I'll ask like maybe one or two more
You're
questions.
fine.
So describe your vision of like a wealthy and healthy Martindale Brightwood.
A wealthy and healthy Mondale Brightwood, man. Wealthy and healthy. That's really good. Um, Wealthy is Martin University. A wealthy Mondale Brightwood is the home of Martin University. Here's why: because Martin University stood as the only predominantly black institute in the state of Indiana. And what's more wealthy than an education? Uh, Nelson Mandela is attributed to quote that education is the most important and powerful weapon used to change the world. So a wealthy Mondale Brightwood is a place where information, they're informed, they're wealthy, they're educated, they're strong, they're powerful. The andragogical approach that Martin University took said that we were all valuable and intelligent. And how can we take grandma and show grandma how valuable she is, how she's been able to cook and build recipes and lead families. And she's actually amazing. How can we tell the young brother who feels like he's going to give up that, man, you actually are right where you're supposed to be. Let's take what you know, use it, utilize it, build you up, and help you gain the confidence to walk out your goals and your dreams and your ambitions right here in this community. So it begins with a great university, I think. This you ask wealth and health to me. Because not only does a great university allow you to become educated and utilize your education in a way that you can put yourself in a financial spot, but it also allows you to become healthy mentally because now you're growing and your brain is expanding, your mind is thinking beyond your current circumstances, and you're pressing and you're showing yourself that you can achieve something, you can stick to something and achieve it by getting that degree. Now your mental health is better, you're sharper. One university offers community psych programs and things of that nature. So a healthy Mondale Brightwood begins to me with a healthy Martin University. And then what happens is 25th Street is reborn. Historically, you got to look down 25th Street of Mondale Brightwood, starting at Sherman from the plaza all the way down to Andrew J. Brown. You got to see a vital 25th Street. You got to see the black businesses back. You got to see the mom and pop stores. You got to see the black producers of things, right? Down like Mike's store right there on the corner there. Like Mike's store may mean nothing to Walmart, but it's everything to Mike and us.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to stop by and grab you some snacks or something, but affording to stop at the restaurant, and affording to be able to go through these places, right, and make purchases. The plaza right here on 25th and Keystone, reimagining that plaza, helping that plaza get some facade grants. I talked to one of our city county councilman of the past who represented us, who did not do any of this, what I asked him. And I asked him he could preserve the life of that plaza by working with the owners of that plaza and helping that plaza achieve a facade grant and things of that nature and put a covered bus stop. I'm still upset about why we don't have a covered bus stop on 25th and Sherman, on 25th and Hillside right there, where and again, this is because we don't think healthy, we don't care about our people. Well, the people who are in charge. You have the mentally disabled, the physically disabled, the seniors, families who have to catch the bus right there at that corner. And it fits all the description because it used to be a bus stop. It used to be a covered bus stop, but for me, a healthy Mondale Brightwood looks like a great university, great businesses down the 25th Street corridor, great parks. The parks in Mondale Brightwood are amazing. We have some amazing parks, great parks where children can play and families can go out. Great opportunities. So we need to invest in our parks. Mondale Brightwood not only has uh, great university, great business structure, great parks, but it has great storytellers and great families. And like what you're doing now, capturing these stories, capturing these amazing people, talking to these people, creating a platform, a place inside of Mondale Brightwood where that can be shared and resourced, like the place you guys meet at. Um, I don't want to shout their names out, but you know what I'm talking about, where they have the room with all the, yeah, yeah. So having a great place where that kind of stuff is shown and preserved and looked at and admired, and children are able to take trips into the. I used to take my kids from School 51 over to Martin University for them to meet the black president of the black university. And they were in the fifth and sixth grade walking through like, oh, wow. We've got to stop being so cynical as adults and reducing things, that are pertaining to us. Sometimes we still believe white ice is colder, and it's a challenge for us. So Mondale Brightwood is healthy and wealthy when education and institutions of higher learning are thriving and vibrant. And then when the businesses are thriving and vibrant, we know this because historically we used to rotate our dollars. So when the black barber finally got a client, when he got paid, he go buy something from the black dressmaker because he wanted his wife to have the dress. Now, when he bought from the black dressmaker said, "Man, I can finally get this car fixed." He went and got it done at the black mechanic. Black mechanic get a check, said, "Man, I can finally get that beef I've been wanting to buy." He can go buy that rib or that beef or whatever from the black barber. So we fed each other. 25th Street has to be that corridor that feeds. And the parks, man, we go to the parks. Where else do we go in the summer, man? Come on, man. Turn on some music, put on some maize, put on some Fresh Prince, summertime, put on that Cool in the Gang, We're gonna get fly, we're gonna pull the cars out, we're gonna pull the ribs out. They're gonna pull that mint julep out too, it's gonna be some Hennessy somewhere. You don't necessarily want to act like it ain't gonna be there. It's gonna be there. We're gonna have a good time in the park playing kickball and baseball, or if they're playing baseball anymore. I don't even know if they're playing baseball anymore. But water balloon fights. So our parks have to be healthy for us to have a healthy environment. And so I think that begins that now. Of course, in Monday Bright, where we have no production, which is a dilemma. We have production around us, though. I mean, right on the other side of 22nd and Yande's is a major corporation. But how much do they pour into Mondale Brightwood? Right here, when you turn off of 25th and Sherman and go into that depot over there, that right here on 25th and Keystone, rather, I'm sorry, 25th and Keystone, yeah, 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 major distribution coming out of there. How much do they invest into Mondale Brightwood? You see, so we don't have any production. And what black people, chocolate people need to start working on, I think, futuristically, is what are we producing? I tell my boys that somebody was at the picnic and they said, "I don't want a spoon, I don't want a fork." You know what would be really good? If we had a spoon that had like points on the end like a fork. And somebody was like, "Man, stop tripping." And whoever that was, now we have sporks. That wasn't in our vocabulary growing up. No sport. What is a sport? So somebody came up with the sport, and they started mass producing sports. Now these kids don't know barbecue without sports. So we need to stop killing our ideas, killing our visions, and start producing some of that stuff.
Mm.
We have some people with great ideas and great vision. You just got to start producing some of it. So that's why I think that's the one thing that we lack in Mondale Brightwood, and I think that we lack in majority of black communities. We bought into the consumer power idea, and we forgot how to produce. That's why we need to produce our own food. That's why we need to produce um, making our own clothes. How do we build and massively distribute things? You know,
Thank you. That's amazing. A great answer. Let's see. Do I have any other questions? Um, so okay, this will be my last question. Um, who are the names of three people, specifically in Martindale Brightwood, who like make this community what it is, like past or present? Like names you should be able to like Google and like or that people should know. You might not be a Googleable.
um,
Oh.
a Googleable, right? Uh, um, man, that's amazing because there's so many. And not to be politically correct, there are a lot of people influencing Martindale Brentwood. I would want people to know the influence that Frederick Douglass had on Martindale Brightwood. I would want people to know the influence that Frank Beckwith had on Martindale Brightwood. Um, I would want people to know the influence that Father Hardin had on Martindale Brightwood. Um, and then you could name at least 30 other people, and a lot of them older black women who have fought for this community, stood for this community, challenged people for this community. Um, so there are countless. I start naming some people, I'm gonna get in trouble. Some current people. You see, I named all people who are not here currently, so I don't want to get in trouble with the people who I forgot. There's so many influences, especially when you consider our community, because our community, we are not a monolithic people. I could start naming pastors, and people go, that pastor has had no influence on me. But I said Frank Alexander was one of the greatest influences in Monday Brightwood. I don't know if people would agree with that, but you don't get a lot of stuff you have on 25th Street and beyond without his influence in that. And but then, you got another element that you can name that these people have influenced Mondale Brightwood and for the good. But you don't want to name their names on camera. But they have stopped some of the violence in Mondale Brightwood. They have talked to the people. Hey, listen, not over here. Hey, Pastor, if you need me, I'll be there. But you can't be naming their names on camera, right? So, so there's amazing people. We're not a monolithic people, man. There's some phenomenal teachers in Mondale Brightwood. I could name a list of professors in Mondale Brightwood. I mean, there's phenomenal people who run business in Mondale Brightwood. You know, I'm gonna eat at Mama's Kitchen. I'm going to eat at Mama's Kitchen. My doctor don't want me to always eat at Mama's Kitchen, but but I am eating at Mama's Kitchen. So I mean, there's some phenomenal people, and I don't want to start limiting it, but yeah, my top three influences would probably be them uh, influences of what Martindale Brightwood was to become and how it could become that. And so the rest of us are sort of carrying the torch and trying to build on those things. Yeah, yeah. Andrew J. Brown, got to consider the fight of these people, man, what this meant to them, what this community meant to them. Um, you know, I listen to like Thomas Brown, his son, who talks about the influence of his father things like that, man. Yeah, yeah. So, Sierra, she's an influencer. She knows she is. She is. She's an influencer here. She's a voice here. And I can name her because she's behind the cameras. She can't be mad. So she's an influencer here, telling stories, capturing stories, leading, fighting, advocating, being a voice to the voiceless, taking the wisdom of the elders and using it in your young energy. I mean, you think about how this Gordon them, Gun them, all them like mean to you. Like we can't run like we used to. We need you to run like you used to. You can talk about the work Edna Martin is doing in this community. I mean, it's just a lot. So we got some good influences here.
Thank you so much. This will be the